Hey guys, so today I'm going to be talking about if the carnivore diet or a hyper-carnivore diet, which is what I technically eat, is the ultimate diet for food freedom, for freedom from calorie counting, and for overall fitness and a nice physique. I was not planning on making a YouTube video at all today, but this has really been on my mind and I wanted to just sit down and talk about another experiment I've been doing along with altering my diet, as I stated in my last YouTube video, the small changes that I've been making to help with my colitis. So this is also something that I've pretty recently implemented, but I've actually implemented it since for a longer period of time than I've been doing those other things I mentioned in my last video. And you can check out my last What I Eat in a Day video if you're curious about what I'm talking about. So again, this is another experiment I've been doing. So I guess it requires a little bit of a backstory. I did mention in most of my YouTube videos that I did have an eating disorder. To be fair, this was when I was about 13 years old, but anybody else who's had an eating disorder knows that that mindset and that like body dysmorphia, it never fully goes away. I mean, at this point now, today, like presently, I'm probably the most healed from it than I've ever been. I never even thought it was possible to be at this point because the past few weeks, I kind of realized that like I could eat a few pieces of butter and be like, oh wow, I'm full. And this was something that and I'm not saying you should only eat a few pieces of butter, let me clarify. But my point is that my body has been, like, without me even trying, my body has been telling me I'm full. You don't need any more food. And this was a huge issue for me. Like, I always believed that I couldn't trust myself around food. I always believed I would be eating way too much if I just didn't count calories. So again, I guess the point that I was getting to with mentioning that I had an eating disorder was that mental health aspect never fully went away. I spent the following over a decade obsessed with counting calories. If I perceived that I had too many calories, I would get really bad anxiety. I would try to overexercise to make up for it. And it worked to a degree. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it kept me fit ish. If you've seen pictures of me from when I was vegan, I don't look anywhere near as lean as I do now. When I did start carnivore, and I know that this isn't everybody's experience, so consistency is really my biggest tip. But I know this isn't everybody's experience. Some people do gain weight initially, but I went from I'm not going to say my weight, but I lost about 7 to 8 pounds within that first month, and my weight has been pretty level since then. So again, I just never trusted that I could just eat and stay roughly the same weight, stay like with the physique that I wanted if I didn't like fastidiously, if that's the right word, I think, if I didn't like obsessively count calories. So anyway, my point with the butter, with the fact that I could eat a little bit of butter and be full, and I mean that, like, if I wake up for the day and have a few pieces of butter before I even have breakfast, and I'm not really necessarily ready to have breakfast, I might be like, I'm full. Or if I have a few pieces of butter after a meal, then that gets me to the point where I'm like, okay, like, I'm full. I don't need any more food right now. So that was what tipped me off and made me realize that maybe I don't need to count calories. Maybe I really can just let myself eat and see what happens. See if my weight changes at all. See if I suddenly develop this insane appetite and can't trust myself with food. And obviously that didn't happen. I don't even want to say how many calories I eat on a daily basis exactly. I mean, I don't know anymore either, because again, about 2 weeks ago when I had this realization, I stopped counting calories. I stopped measuring what I was eating at all. I stopped looking at nutrition labels aside from the ingredients section to make sure that there are no inflammatory oils or seasonings and things. But again, I stopped looking at the nutrition facts. So it's been more like a month now. I haven't been counting calories or paying attention necessarily to how much I've been eating. Even at the end of the night, if I'm like, I could really go for something else, like I'm in the mood to eat again, I'll eat, and I won't have any guilt or anxiety about it, and I won't exercise to compensate for the amount that I'm eating. I generally do about an hour of a cardio workout 6 days a week, sometimes 7. I know that some people would think that's excessive too, but I really just do stationary bike. I really enjoy it. It relieves stress for me. So again, I used to do more than that, and I don't think that's healthy, obviously. But at this point right now, I am doing that amount of cardio. So again, also, I think that the fact that I was trying to control how much I was eating so much was also hindering my progress with this diet initially, because I would say the first month and a half or so, I was still counting calories. And again, I just don't think it's necessary. So anyway, I've been doing this experiment, and I have so much less guilt. I have so much less anxiety about food. I have not been counting calories, as I've said, and I don't weigh myself very frequently. I actually do think I'm just going to stop. But the last time I did check, I had stayed about the same and maybe lost not a lot, like a few ounces. And I know with women's weight, our weight can fluctuate based on water weight, based on that time of the month. So that's like very negligible. But my point is that my weight essentially didn't change. So again, I was counting calories for all this time. And to be fair, when I was eating a much higher carb diet, I think that my weight would have probably been higher, probably, if I wasn't counting calories and paying attention to how much I was eating, because I probably could have eaten way more carbs than my body needed. And I would have never known how much it would be, how much I was eating if I wasn't counting calories. But now on this lifestyle, I don't feel the impulse ever to overeat. I might want like an extra meal or snack at the end of the day, but I'm not like wanting this huge portion of food. And again, I like trust myself now to know what I want to eat and how much I want to eat. Even just in terms of the types of foods I'm eating, when I go to eat something, I will know, like I mentioned in my last video with the pork, I know like definitively, like I don't want pork today. I don't want fish. I just want beef. Or I had tuna like a few days ago, and the next day I was like, I don't want tuna again. And then like a few days later, I was really in the mood for it. So I feel like my body is coming back into a state of like equilibrium, if that's the right word. I think that's the right word. And I've never been so in tune with what my body needs. I've never been so okay with maybe gaining a pound or two if that's what my body needs. If like I end up, I won't even know, honestly, because I really don't want to weigh myself anymore. But I do hate the term your relationship with food. That's like a strong word. Hate is a strong word, but I don't like the word your relationship with food. But for lack of a better term, I would say my relationship with food and with my body image has never been healthier. I've never felt more freed from counting calories, from the guilt of eating, from the anxiety of, how much I'm going to eat, what I'm going to eat, when I'm going to eat. I just eat what I want now in what amount I want. And again, I don't even know if I could go back. If I like did gain a few pounds, I don't know if I could, because the ease of mind that I've had and the increase in my health, it's just too valuable than to go back to the anxiety-ridden routine that I had before with my health, with my food, with my fitness. Like, this is so much better in so many respects. So I'm going to keep you guys updated on this experiment I'm doing. I wouldn't even say it's an experiment, because it's basically like a definitive thing that I've implemented in my life at this point. And really, I want to just go off of the way my clothes are fitting and, like other like changes that I might notice in my body to gauge how this is going. And I know it's going good. I know it's going to continually go good. But again, if I change my mind, I'll tell you guys. And the last thing I do want to touch on is weight redistribution and hormone balancing. And I am not a doctor. I never really took a lot of bio. Like, I did take a basic bio class, but I don't have a background in that kind of stuff, so I can't speak too deeply about this. But I will say that since I did start this diet, I've had next to no PMS. Like, I've had the first day of my period, I might have a tiny, tiny bit of cramps, and that's it. I used to have debilitating stabbing pain when I would have my period. So to have like no pain, next to no pain, is a huge relief. So that gives me one sign that my hormones are more in balance. On top of that, I've noticed, and this goes back to the weight thing. I've noticed my body weight seems to be redistributing as I go further on this diet. My waist used to not be so like cinched, if that's the right word. My boobs were like really flat. I don't know if the guys want to stay around for this conversation, but I'm not going to gatekeep. If you want to, you can. If this is like too much lady talk, then you can go. It's fine. I understand. But anyway, my boobs, I was like pretty flat chested when I was vegan, especially after I got colitis. Like, my boobs all but disappeared, but they've been perkier. Like, they seem to have more tissue there. And again, this is while my weights essentially stayed the same. So the weight is going to different areas, and I don't know how that works, but I've noticed it. So my waist, also I'm sure from losing water weight, my waist is cinched in more. My hips and like my butt area, I've been able to gain muscle there so much easier. And my thighs too, I've been able to get more toned in those areas so much easier lately. And I've just been developing a much more hourglass, like womanly figure. So that again goes back to the weight thing. If I was to gain a little bit of weight, it would probably be in the areas that I should have more weight anyway. Like, I know presently I am a very thin person. So again, it's another reason that I'm kind of just like, I'm just going to let my body do what it needs to do at this point. I finally have so much relief with the way I'm eating, with the way I'm feeling. So yeah, I love this diet. That's all I can really say. It was the best decision to start this diet. And if I change my mind eventually, I will be completely open with you guys, but it's working so well. So I'm so glad that people in this community on my channel are experiencing a lot of the same benefits. If you're not yet, my best advice would just be to be consistent. Another piece of advice would be to find somebody else who's had like as similar of an experience to you as you can find, because then you can maybe implement what they're doing specifically to get to the point that you want to be at, the point that they might be at now. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.